Everybody, we'll get started in a moment. Kareem Bargatsi, Executive Director of the DAIS. Welcome to the TMU Democracy Forum. And we've got a number of events that the DAIS is hosting or co-hosting in the coming couple months, including our Black in Policy event on February 27th, our Democracy Exchange Conference that we co-host with OCAD University April 12th and 13th. There's also information about our Leading Through Policy Change micro-credential, number of activities that the DAIS, to the Policy and Leadership Think Tank here at TMU, is putting on throughout the winter, and we look forward to having you at a future event or participating in one of our programs. So we'll get started in a moment.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Democracy Forum at TMU, hosted by the DAIS. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory, which refers to a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee, the Bambans who share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans and all newcomers, have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Hi, Christine. My name is Peggy Nash, she, her. I'm a senior advisor to the Dean of Arts here at TMU and the co-founder of the Women in the House program and co-leader of the Democracy Leadership Program. I'm also a former New Democratic Member of Parliament, so I'm very eager to hear our leader from the NDP speak today, and he'll be formally introduced in just a minute. Our moderator today is Martin Rankon. As you know, is a political columnist with the Toronto Star. He's a very busy guy. He's the founder of the Democracy Forum at TMU. He's a senior fellow at the DAIS on campus here, and a senior fellow at the Monk's School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto. Martin was also a foreign correspondent for 11 years in Asia and the Middle East, and he was also a parliamentary correspondent, so he's returning to his past efforts here. So Martin, over to you.
Thank you, bienvenue, bonjour, welcome to our 31st Democracy Forum at Toronto Met, where we try to do democracy differently and more democratically. If you're watching live on thestar.com or on CPAC, on the television network across the country, thank you for joining us. I always remind people that this is not a news conference, it's not a confrontation, it's a democracy forum where we try to dig a little deeper and try to get more in-depth answers from our guests. So no pressure, no talking points. Let me tell you about our guest. I first met Jagmeet Singh about 10, 12 years ago, back when he was a rookie politician, not the veteran you see before you today, representing MPP, representing Brampton, and the Toronto Star Bureau had him pegged as a politician on the rise. And for once we were right, because within a few years, he was the deputy leader of the Ontario NDP. And then he leapfrogged, disregarded my advice, leapfrogged to the federal level when he won the leadership of the New Democratic Party in a landslide. He had a life before politics. He is a criminal lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, graduate from Osgoode Hall Law School, human rights activist, and most importantly to me, most intimidating, a martial arts expert. I always tell people this because I think it's good training for political combat. He's also been on the move. Maybe you've seen him longboarding on TikTok, that's a thing now. But he's on the move from the beginning. He was born in Scarborough, right? And then moved to St. John's, Newfoundland, where he learned how to be a fast talker. And then he was raised in Windsor, I think, and then worked in Brampton. I don't think I've left anything out except for Burnaby South, which he now represents in Parliament in British Columbia. So he was our guest on the Democracy Forum a couple of years ago during COVID. virtually, so it's good to see you in person again, fast to fast. Welcome back to the TMU Democracy Forum.
Thank you. It's a huge honor. Thank
You've never heard me be so complimentary, so you're kind of shocked.
I'm a little, yeah, I don't know what to do now.
Okay, first a little bit of housekeeping. I'll kick off the questioning inspired by some of the suggestions we got from folks when you were registering. Then we'll open it up to the audience so you can start picking up the questions that you want to ask if I go instead of you, if I don't preempt you. A reminder that we're here for questions and answers, not giving speeches or shouting slogans. That's what everyone here signed up for, because when you registered, you agreed to our code of conduct on campus. That's the deal when you walk through the doors. Okay, first question. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Personal question.
Okay.
So you have a 2-month-old baby.
Yes.
Who is here with us, guest of honor, has
Yes.
upstaged you.
100%. She's right there.
Dunny, she's over there. Yes. Okay. How is the family, and are you getting any sleep?
So, you know, one of our biggest arguments in the family is that Gurkiran, my wife, is really concerned that I don't sleep enough. And this has been an ongoing problem. I want to be awake, basically. I want to like do too much. I want to like, after work, I want to cook always. And I also want to read books. I also want to listen to music. And I also want to do more work. And so she's like, you can't do anything. You got to sleep. And now that I have a kiddo and 2 kiddos, I put a lot of work in with them. And she's also worried about me sleeping, so I don't sleep. Now, her concern though is that I have passed this on to our oldest daughter, who also doesn't want to sleep, 2-year-old. So the 2-year-old does not want to sleep, so she blames me for that because she thinks that I have somehow passed this energy on to her. So that's our one big complaint, is that I actually don't mind not sleeping. It's totally fine with me. But she's worried that I won't live longer if I don't sleep.
You're looking bright-eyed and bushy. so that's good to say. Okay.
No, but things are good. I'm really thankful. We have 2 girls. I'm proud to be a girl dad. We've named them first daughter Anhad, which means limitless. And we want her to know that she's limitless. And our second daughter, Danni, has been such a gift, and we want to really celebrate that she's a gift in our life. And so her name is Danni, which means generous and benevolent. She's such a generous thing in our lives to have her. And we also want to lead into the idea that we should all remember that at our hearts, we want to take care of each other. There is a true kind of generosity at the core human spirit. So those are the names.
So that's a long answer. I never remind you.
Those are not talking about
I never remind you of
values.
our secret discussion ahead of time, which is when I give you the namaste, that means you're going to
Okay.
Now I'm going to talk to I almost named my daughter Hadia, which means gift.
Oh, cool. There you
But
go.
it came close, but
Okay.
it
It was in the top running.
yeah.
Yeah, we have the same thing. You'll have like, I don't know, folks maybe even thought of their names for maybe their future potential kids ahead of time. That's probably something people can do. We have a lot of.
It happened before the Middle East. It is, you've now got bodyguards, a personal security detail that follows you a lot of places. But you've always actually been a lightning rod for as long as I've known you. Not all the time, but there are events that you are consistently targeted for. So I want to ask, you've been confronted, you've been blocked sometimes. Sometimes it's anti-vaxxers, sometimes it's disgruntled New Democrats, if there is such a thing. Imagine that. Because I've seen that and watched that. And so my question to you is, how do you deal with that? How do you respond? How do you de-escalate? And how do you explain to people, what do you say to people who don't want to let you talk?
Right, okay. So, I mean, a couple of caveats off the top. I would say, I don't recommend necessarily my approach for everyone, because everyone doesn't have the same life experiences.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. It depends on like your own personal safety and security and how you feel. So it's not something I would necessarily say everyone should do it this way. I want to put that caveat out. And a bit of the preamble for that is that I'm genuinely someone who's trained lots of martial arts, did wrestling, I competed in tournaments, submission grappling tournaments where the goal is to submit your opponent. So I feel very comfortable to submit your opponent. So with either joint manipulation or some form of, one of my best friends was Willie Mansour, and I would also be faced with the same thing when I was a kid, because he was a Lebanese young man that is hard to really tell what his background is. So I would also, when we were kids, be attacked and be called some form of Muslim terrorist, and he always felt bad for me. And I said, Willie, would you rather that I said, you're the Muslim, and they go after you instead? I'm like, I would never do that to you, you're my best friend. And for my life, I always believe that hatred is wrong, and so I don't want to dispel it to someone else. So I try to de-escalate, I try to connect to the person. Sometimes people just want to ask a question, not hear their question out. But if the energy is disruptive to everyone in the room, I don't think it's fair for one person to monopolize the time of all the other people that are in the room. So I try to make that clear that it's not really fair that you can just be the loudest and then take away the opportunity. That clear that it's not really fair that you can just be the loudest and then take away the opportunity for other folks that have other things they want to do.
And some of those clips have gone viral, some of those video clips, and
Folks that have other things they want to do.
and some of those clips have gone viral, some of those video clips, and in particular before you won the leadership. Maybe it helped you win the leadership. But you will say, if I can preempt you with your words, that love can conquer hate. But that doesn't always work. So what happens when that doesn't work?
So yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. So sometimes if I try to say, like in the moment where the love conquers hate, I felt like when I saw the person in front of me, I could tell there was something really bothering them, they were hurt, and I wanted to know that like my spiritual belief is that we're all one, we're all here to take care of each other, and I wanted them to feel, even if you angered me, I still got love for you, I still value you. Sometimes people are just being bullies, really. And
sometimes there's a playbook, which is to disrupt, not just because you're feeling bad.
Exactly. So sometimes that's where you have to stand up and say, hey, I don't think it's fair that you are disrupting what everyone else. I'm not going to continue, or I'm not going to allow this to continue because you're taking away from other people's experience. You got to stand up to that sometimes. But I think give people a chance first, hear them out, and then sometimes you have to be firm and say, that's not fair for you to just be loud and take away from someone else who maybe not have the same confidence to be loud like that, but they're not able to appreciate what's going on. So sometimes you've got to be strong and stand up to it.
So let's talk about the Middle East in a second, but before we leave the issue of disruption, a lot of people blame politicians on Parliament Hill, democratic discourse, and they particularly point the fingers at the opposition, whose job it is to oppose. You're part of the opposition. Is that part of the problem, or is that a different piece?
Well, I feel like
if your daughter disrupts us, that doesn't count.
Yeah. I was gonna say at some point you can just pass her over. I'll be right. I can console her if you want, James. James is my EA, who also acts as my just life support. So if you could just give him a round of applause, because he's James, I could really do it sometime if you're feeling.
James was the wagon master, as we call it, during the last Ontario election campaign, where you had to shepherd the media. So if you can handle the media, you can handle it.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Okay, so politicians, are they part of the problem?
I mean, the problem, if you take a step back, I think there is a cynicism that exists that sometimes is a part of why people are so angry. Like, things suck and life sucks. I can't find a place to live. I can't afford my groceries. That's genuine, legitimate anger. Like, life should not be so hard. People are like, why is life so hard? And there's anger because of that. That is legitimate. And then when politicians lean into cynicism, don't actually provide real solutions, try to distract from the real problems people are going through by punching down and beating up on marginalized communities like we're seeing in Alberta, where Alberta has an electricity grid that's falling apart, healthcare that's falling apart, has education system that's in shambles because of all these cuts, and the premier rather pick on marginalized people and use their time.
Transgender rights.
Right, attack gender rights, attack the LGBTQ community, instead of actually dealing with healthcare, electricity, housing, the real problems that people are going through. That to me adds to the cynicism when you've got people that are purposely distracting or purposely punching down and beating up on people to distract the anger that people are genuinely feeling. That to me is absolutely adding to the problem.
Okay. Let's talk about the Middle East. The truth is that passions are high right now on the Gaza-Israel front. The NDP has demanded a ceasefire for a long time. Why do you think it was so hard? Why is it taking so long? It does seem as if we're very close to a ceasefire because it's turning on the question of hostages, releasing hostages. So was that issue neglected and not stressed enough? As it turns out, that was the key to a ceasefire, or at least a 2-month ceasefire that people are talking about right now. Why did it take so long?
I just want to, before I get into the answer, I want to approach it with some humility. I don't have all the answers, and I don't want to suggest that I am in any way an expert and I know best on this. I've been trying to lead with compassion and humanity as my guiding principle, and so the reason why we called for a ceasefire very early on is we just saw the toll of the violence was that more and more lives are being lost, and the harm of that and the pain of that, it compelled us as humanitarians to say we have to do something to stop the violence. But we tied that from the beginning to hostages. We always said that, yeah, we were very clear that it has to be connected because we can't get into a scenario where we're valuing lives in different ways or we're ignoring the pain that people are feeling. So we called for a ceasefire unequivocally, and we said at the same time, we also have to make sure that hostages are released, so we maintain that position. I was just gonna say, bring her on up, good friend, is also distracting my heart to hear her back too much. But I'll hold it over, she'll be everything.
This is all the tension the parents would be involved. I went through this.
I can't do it. She'll be okay. Thank you, you're the best, James. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I usually go like this.
This is amazing, the multitasking. This is impressive.
It'll be good.
It'll put you at a disadvantage though, as I question you, or maybe
People will be more like sympathetic.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's like a beautiful political problem.
Good political training.
But especially she's got to hush up now, or else we'll think maybe you're not helping. Okay, it's actually a good time just to segue, because I wanted to ask you an important question that follows up. And by the way, I rarely heard politicians or anybody show or express, as you did, the humility that you don't pretend to have all the answers. I spent 4 years in the Middle East and I don't have the answers. And it's always interesting, everyone's an expert, an armchair expert, but that's another, I don't want to be judging folks about that. So, are you worried about the spillover here in Canada? Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia keep coming up. Political intolerance that has arisen in the last few months. You've said that people are telling you that they're now afraid to wear the hijab or head coverings, yarmulke. And you would know about that, head coverings. It's a thing, right, sometimes.
Yeah.
So what do you tell people in Toronto? What do you tell people in your own party about lowering the temperature in Canada and increasing tolerance?
This is actually something that really kind of keeps me up at night, because we've all seen the really horrific images of what's going on in Gaza. It breaks our heart to see the violence. I've met with families of Jewish Canadians who have relatives that are hostages, and it's heartbreaking to not know what's happening to your loved one. So I've heard those stories, and I've also heard stories directly from people in Canada that say as a result, they are afraid to wear their, like, mentioned kippah or yarmulke, women who are afraid to wear their hijab. And sadly, I know what that's like, to be afraid or nervous to wear your article of faith. As a kid, my children was ripped off my head, and it's something that I was afraid to wear sometimes. I also know the courage it takes to still wear it. So I want to acknowledge brothers and sisters that are wearing their articles of faith and siblings that are doing so. I know it's tough to do. I want to acknowledge your courage and your strength. But I'm really worried that language, when not careful, can add to the flames of both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. And that is really troubling to me. Because someone is Jewish does not mean they support the Netanyahu extremist government. And because someone is worried about people dying in Gaza does not mean they support Hamas. And I think it's really important for us to be careful about our language so we don't allow that hatred to spread in Canada. And I've always said this about hatred. Hatred is very much like a fire. Once it takes hold, it spreads. It can't be contained. And if it's okay to hate someone because of their faith or their religion or then their identity or the color of their skin or their sexuality, that hate can spread and grow. And so it's important for all of us collectively to consider this our responsibility, that we have to stop hate in its tracks, not give it any oxygen to breathe. It is for the betterment of society, for us all to be collectively engaged in that work.
For what it's worth, I've been abroad, and I don't think Canadians are any better or worse than anybody else. I do think our political class, by and large, are better than most in terms of tolerance and multiculturalism, from Brian Mulroney to Jagmeet Singh. I've heard it, and I think leadership makes a big difference. And if we look at the U.S., you can see the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we might get more audience questions on this later.
Yes.
But there's a lot of other ground to cover, and that's why we invited you today. It's a balancing act for the Democracy Forum. It's a balancing act for you as a politician in your daily life. Let's talk about how the NDP wields the balance of power in a minority parliament. You're keeping the Liberals in government. It's called
Can I just point out though,
Yes.
that I took care, you know.
You did. You have triumph. I think it's the question that I'm asking because
The
she
smooth
wants to
voice.
hear the answer. So she's listening very accurate. She's not interrupting. So she's modeling behavior for folks out there. Okay, so you've got a supply and confidence agreement that means it's not a coalition, but the deal is you keep them, you don't trigger an election as long as they move forward on some shared NDP priorities, right? And I wanted to say that personally, as a political columnist, I'm allowed to have opinions. I think it's admirable that you're doing this. Thank you for your service because you are advancing, you're figuring out how to get some progressive stuff done. The problem for politicians is that you don't get that much credit for the good stuff and you get blamed for the bad stuff. So there's childcare, there's dental care, there's pharmacare maybe, but people just tag you to Justin Trudeau's falling popularity. And you said the other day, because you can be mischievous too, and right? You're holding the baby here, but you know what I'm going to say. You said the other day that working with the Liberals feels like, quote, wrestling beetles covered in oil. They're just slimy. They're slimy. The covered in oil wasn't enough. He came in with a slimy imagery. It's kind of like red meat for the base, this thing, right? So why is it so hard for a left-wing party to do the right thing? Why are your supporters so suspicious of you?
I would say, okay, so just to give you a little insight into how this all went down, my team came to me with a proposal in 2021. So 2019, we had the first minority government of 2, and it was during the pandemic, so we got a lot of things done. Folks don't know about it, to your point of credit, we fought like everything to get things done. We doubled it. It was initially only going to be 1,000. We doubled it. It was initially not going to include students. We included students.
This is some income equality stuff that you were doing.
Yeah. Put some money back into people's pockets. We fought for that. We fought to include more folks. We fought to expand the coverage. So we got a lot of things done. And then that all motivated us when we got reelected in 2021 to another minority government. My team said, hey, we did some things in the pandemic. It was really helpful, as I'm sure you felt. Yeah, I felt that we were able to make a difference. Now we've got opportunity to do the same thing, vote by vote, try to win some victories for people here or there, or we can try to do something bigger. We can try to negotiate a number of things, some things that might take multi-year.
And you need stability for that.
To do that, it's going to take more stability, and it's also going to take an agreement, because it's not just one vote, it's going to be multiple steps to get to the full completion. So I said, yeah, okay, I appreciate the team does that with me. They give me the options, and they say, okay, let's go through pros and cons. I say, well, the cons are going to make a big deal with us. They're going to be really upset at you. They're going to be really angry. They're going to say, why are you working with the Liberals? Frankly, some New Democrats might be angry at you for working with the Liberal. Okay, some people will be angry at this. What's the pros? Like, well, we can get some big things done. Let's think about that. Let's brainstorm. Like, well, the big thing that we campaigned on is dental care. Maybe we get dental care done. Like, you're telling me I can get dental care for millions of Canadians, like seniors and grandparents and kiddos that can't go to the dentist. I can get them dental care. And then the con is that people might be angry that I'm trying to work to make things happen. Yeah, I'll take the dental care. Like, there was no question. I had no
And
hesitation.
dental care is huge. That's something my newspaper has campaigned on for years. People, it's kind of the forgotten child.
Yeah.
Healthcare, but oral mouth care is hugely important. But I want to speed up a little bit though,
Yeah.
because you set the table for us here. Let's talk now about what comes next, which is pharmacare. Because
Right.
that's on the table right now.
Right.
And well,
I guess this is where the slimy stuff comes in, I guess.
well, or maybe it's that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I like eating eel, right? It's part of my sushi selection. So.
Nagi, is that it? What it's called? Nagi?
Yeah, he's a secret sushi lover too.
I'm a vegetarian though, but I do sometimes look at that stuff.
So, pharmacare is kind of, it's, when you think about Medicare without medicines, it was left out in the 1960s when the NDP pushed for pharmacare. For Medicare, you have to have a compromise to make it work. All these years later, you're fighting for it. But just like dental care, people don't appreciate pharmacare, probably because a lot of working people have workplace plans. Or if you're a student, your parents have a plan, but then when you leave, you're no longer a student, you leave campus, oops, you gotta find a drug plan. So the Liberals are on the hook for this, but they missed their deadline last year. You gave them until March 1st. By the way, that's 4 weeks minus a day, or 2 from now. So what's the deal here? Are they gonna make it? Tell us about all the secret negotiations.
I'm gonna tell you.
But tell us what's gonna happen.
Okay, sure. Well, I will say, just to wrap up on the dental care, because it flows into the pharmacare, that the reason, like, it wasn't something that this is like a shared thing. We brought forward the idea of dental care multiple times, the Liberals voted no. Conservatives joined and voted no. We fought hard and got it to happen, and we kept on pushing, and we still are pushing to make sure it's rolled out properly. But when it's all said and done, it's gonna be 9 million Canadians who are gonna get this. Basically, anyone in our country who earns less than 90,000, doesn't have coverage, will get it. 1 in 4 Canadians pretty much gonna get cancer care because of us, so that's huge. So on the pharmacare piece,
There are 8 million people who don't have a drug plan, so.
yes,
They may- they
there you go. So now we go to pharmacare. Our sticking point has been from the beginning that we want a program that works for people, working people, for everyday people, for all folks. And the Liberals are nervous about appeasing the big pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies. That's been a major sticking point. And we've said, frankly, we don't care about big pharma and big insurance companies. They're not gonna like this, so what? And that's really been our major sticking point. And why it's been so difficult is we have it in writing that they should do this, and they're trying to find ways to get out of it. And so it is very much like wrestling eels soaked in oil, because they're slippery, they're like trying to say, oh, we didn't say that, we didn't do, like it's written here, like no, but we didn't mean it that way, it's not the speed. There's a lot of like, we're fighting hard for this. But
Part of the problem is it doesn't say in the agreement that it has to be a single payer plan or that it has to be publicly delivered.
clearly heard what they've been saying. So that's what they've been saying, but we said it's a national universal, and national universal, even based on the Liberals' own conventions, was single payer, and their own commission report said single payers. So their own report is
By a Liberal.
yes, delivered by a Liberal, said very clearly it should be universal and single payer. We're like, this is pretty obvious, this is the best way to do it. So what we've said is, because you missed your deadline, now we expect more. We expect more than just a plan and more than just legislation. We want to see something significantly more. And there's been some of it been floated out, so I don't think it's kind of been leaked in the media. We're expecting before, I guess I'll give you a little juicy tidbit here. You're hearing this first here probably. If you read the articles, you might be able to kind of like surmise this, but I'll tell you to you straight. Our agreement simply said that there should be progress towards pharmacare, meaning legislation that moves us towards that direction. It didn't actually require them to cover any medication. We're gonna require them to cover some medication. So that will be a part of the deal, that we're gonna fight to make sure there will be some medication delivered to all Canadians as a part, which was never actually in the agreement initially. So we're gonna go beyond what was in there to make up for, or to force them to pay for having delayed it. Well, they could have just given us legislation, delayed it. Now we're gonna make sure there's some medication for Canadians.
So this is martial arts, I guess, right?
It's a little jujitsu throw there, yeah.
Okay, so what if this doesn't happen? What do you do if they don't blink?
This can be pretty serious. Like I've told them this, we mean business. I was at a convention where the party members told me very clearly they expect this. So I've said this is not, there's things that we can, we have to work out in life, we've got to negotiate, but I said this is very clear. Like this is not one we're messing around with.
So you don't want an election, by the way, so do you pull the plug on the deal and then you support them vote by vote, or?
This is now into the stuff of the negotiation, but I've made it very clear that this is a very firm position we have. Like we're not messing around with this.
Okay, as is probably clear, I've been a supporter of pharmacare for a long time. I've written dozens of columns. I think it'll save money. But the problem is that only 18% of Canadians think it's the most important healthcare priority. Twice as many think mental health or long-term care is more important, about 35% versus 18% for pharmacare. So how do you mobilize people? How do you motivate them to support you on this particular thing?
Well, I think if you break it down, it's hard when you're confronted with a list of things to choose what the most important thing is. But fundamentally, our healthcare system should work. And one of the things that we found, and I think this makes sense when you talk to people, if you've got a healthcare system that covers you going to a doctor, but it doesn't cover the medication you need to stay healthy, it just doesn't add up.
Which is much more important than it was in the 1960s when we had Medicare. There are life-saving drugs for high blood pressure.
100%, it can change your life. It can absolutely change your life. Even when folks are struggling with mental health, often folks, if they are prescribed,
You're preaching to convert here. How do you persuade other folks?
right. So the way we make the case is, I think often these things are always best convinced when you give an example of some person. So there are seniors that I've spoken to who literally are cutting pills in half. Pills that could save their life, they can't afford the full dose, so they cut their pills in half. I don't think we should have that happen in our country. We've got people that literally say, given the cost of food, and the cost of everything going up, they say, this week do I buy groceries or this week do I buy my medication? Those stories, I think, are emotionally compelling. And then add to that a little bit of logic, but also emotional, that if that person doesn't get the medication they need, whether it's diabetes medication, what happens at end stage of diabetes? Well, you end up having kidney failure, and then you're on dialysis, and then you go to the emergency room, and then there's a massive use of our healthcare resources. So people would all agree that our healthcare system needs some help, and I can make the argument if we could cover people's medication, we could significantly reduce some of the burden on our healthcare system, and it would make life better for everyone when it comes to our healthcare system. It's not just about covering medication, it is really about completing a healthcare system that can work much better if people aren't getting into the extreme illnesses.
Yeah,
I think that's compelling.
The economics, it's not ideological, it's economical.
Yeah.
Okay, so eventually, whatever happens in pharmacare, there's going to be election, sooner or later. The next election is due, fixed election date is in late 2025. Let's say there's a minority government, because we talked about this at the last democracy forum, so you can't duck. We're done. We're on stage now.
Oh, boy.
Last democracy forum, you were very clear that if there was a minority government after that election, you could not support the conservatives led by Aaron O'Toole. So if there's a minority government after the next election and the Tories have the most seats, but they don't have a majority, would you support Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party?
In retrospect, Aaron O'Toole seemed like a very reasonable person. I'm going to be very blunt with you. I said that, but now, like, after the fact, like,
I feel your pain. I feel your
this
pain.
is rough, because Aaron O'Toole is actually, like, he believed in science, he thought that, you know, like, if a healthcare professional gives us good advice around the medication, we should probably listen to that healthcare advice. Like normal standard stuff that we
You were
not.
very hard on Aaron O'Toole.
I was hard on him. I gotta probably call him up and say, hey, like, you were reasonable in a lot of ways.
So are you going to be soft on Pierre Poilievre?
No, man, this is a person. Okay, let me give you an example. You know the number one thing that we're concerned about when we talk about cost of living? Groceries, right? Like people go to the grocery store, I'm sure folks, show of hands, grocery store, concerned with the high prices. Yeah, it's super expensive. So we've been saying, we ask Canadians, this is a really important thing. We ask Canadians, what is it? Well, we didn't ask, it was a public opinion poll, we had nothing to do with it, in fact. People were asked, Canadians were asked, what is the number one reason why your groceries are so expensive? Canadians said on their own, corporate greed. And we're like, yeah, that's why we've been going after Galen Weston. That's why we've been saying the only way to bring down prices is to go after these rich corporations, these rich CEOs. Guess what we just learned? This is to bolster the fact that I could never work with Pierre Poilievre because he wants to cut the things that you need. He's going to hurt people. I know who he is. I see him in Parliament. He's mean-spirited. He punches down all the time. He takes shots at the weak. He will never take on the powerful. And the reason why he's never going to take on Galen Weston, his campaign manager, his actual campaign manager of the Conservative Party, is a registered lobbyist. I'm losing my throat because I'm so passionate about this. Active registered lobbyist for Galen Weston, the Loblaws Corporation. So no, he's never going to take on corporate greed. He is never going to take on the real causes of the problems we're going through. His solution for housing is going to sell off public land to rich developers a la Doug Ford. So no, a huge no. I would never work with someone that is so against working people, that is so against taking on the corporate greed, that is so against just normal common sense things. He talks about common sense. Nothing that he says is actually common sense. He's actually talking about extreme ideas that are going to hurt people, cutting people's pensions, cutting people's EI. He wants to cut dental care, even though for all of his adult life, he has had taxpayer-funded dental care for him and his family, but he doesn't want it for seniors. He voted against it for kids. This is who he is.
So that means, because I know you can go on for a while.
I'm angry about that.
The answer is, there is no way you could keep him in power.
There's no way at all. The harm that he wants to do to Canadians, I want to fight that with everything I have.
Got it. Let's change gears, and I
want to
apologize.
lost to that, but it's okay.
We.
Oh, you're not allowed to applaud babies.
No, of course
Then
not.
I'll take it.
It's not this way. So let's change gears. One last question. I apologize for going into a bit of overtime before turning it over to, so think up your questions.
Okay.
This week, the foreign interference inquiry started up. And this is a democracy forum, so it's something that I wanted to ask about, defending Canadian democracy against interference from China, but also from India. So let's focus on India, because a lot's been said about China. You took an oath of secrecy, you have high security clearance, and so you saw the intelligence files and you agreed that there was credible intelligence that Indian government agents killed the president of a Sikh temple in British Columbia, Jagmeet Singh. Given what you know now, how does Canada stand its ground with India? And what do you see ahead for the world's biggest democracy in what is an election year and bilateral relations? How do we handle that?
I would, similar to how I've been really clear about Netanyahu's government in Israel and really isolating and calling it out as Netanyahu's government, there's many thousands of Israelis who protest Netanyahu all the time. It's unfair to link them together. Similar to India, there's many amazing people in the country, but the Modi government is also a very extremist, fascist government, openly so. And so it is very difficult to have relations with a country that is run by a very right-wing extremist government that is openly now, not just in Canada, we've got the example of intelligence that I can confirm that what the Prime Minister said is very much the case. We've got credible intelligence that links the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil to the Indian government. There's also an open case now before the courts in America, where the indictment is public, that an Indian agent actually contacted an undercover officer in the States to assassinate another, in this case, American citizen on American soil, and that was foiled. So you've got two examples where the Modi government is associated, affiliated with the killing extrajudicial, not like they're tried in court and there's a punishment. This is extrajudicial killing, attempts to kill and killing of Canadians or Americans.
And India kind of laughed off and dismissed our allegations, but of course when the U.S. made the allegations, they changed their tune and took it more seriously.
Very much so.
You being denied the visa to India, I think it was almost a decade ago. I remember you were invited to a conference on human rights or something about Kashmir or women in India. And you were denied a visa. Have you tried since then? And what was the reason for that?
I have not tried since 2013. And at the time, I was very critical of the Indian government, again, not the people, but the government's track record on treatment of minority communities, women's rights, low income, and what's known as low caste. I'm opposed to the caste system that exists in India, and the treatment of those folks and academics and journalists. I was very critical. And so I was told when I met with the consulate, actually, that if I was willing to rescind my comments, that I would be given a visa. And I said, well, I'm not going to do that, obviously. And since I've not stopped up and being critical of any government that engages in human rights violations, I think that's an important part of a democracy for us to be critical of those that engage in human rights violations. I'm critical of Canadian government's history when it comes to the treatment of Indigenous people, ongoing and historic. So I think it's very important that we're critical, and the goal of that criticism should be to get to a better place where we do have true democracy. The Indian government has received from Sweden a rating where it's not considered actually even a democracy anymore. It's called an electoral autocracy. It's got an electoral system, but really they don't have the hallmarks of a democracy more towards authoritarianism, rating and so on.
Okay, we're going to open to questions, but you tweaked me on one quick thing. I didn't know this about you. I'll just refresh my memory the other day and reading about all the protests you're encountering and so on. But you stopped using your original surname because it has a caste linkage or something. Just tell me about that.
Yeah. Kind of random. So interestingly, in the Sikh tradition, this is a little quick caveat. There is a system of oppression, I believe very strongly, that exists in South Asia, which is called a caste system, which is basically a combination of racism and classism. It's based on your birth and what family you're from, that denotes your hierarchy in society, and also it's often affiliated, darker skinned folks are often lower caste. So it's very much racism and classism. And one of the Sikh philosophies is to destroy that system of inequality. We think it's also why I believe Sikhs are committed to justice and inequality in general. But what happened is when people came to Canada, people started reusing their caste names. In Punjab, like my parents, both of their degrees, my mom's a teacher, my dad's a doctor, their degrees don't have their last name. They have Singh or Gaur, and they don't have a last name. And the last name we know because you want to know your history and your family, but you don't use it because we're not supposed to accept the caste system. But in Canada, people started using their last names again. So I thought about it a lot. When I ran politically, I decided to not run with my last name, to use Singh instead, because it stands for this idea that we believe everyone's equal. There should be no hierarchy like that. And so a lot of folks advised me not to because I was kind of known by my last name. I was a lawyer and I had a law firm, and I had some, I guess, a little bit of renown, that I was going to lose that because I didn't have the name to then
The brand.
lose this person, who was your brand. And so but I still went ahead with it. I think it was a good choice. So,
I
yeah,
forgot you did just before you ran for politics.
yeah, that's it.
All right, questions from folks
I have
here?
a question. I have a question. Jagmeet Singh, you guys sat here in the beginning and spoke about the genocide happening in Palestine. You mentioned anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, which have both been on the rise in Canada. Yes. You didn't mention anti-Palestinian racism. Not all Palestinians are Muslim. Your language erases us as a country and as a people. Palestinians are people. This is not an issue of Islam. And your language erases us. You know who else erases us? Your own leaders. The NDP minister in BC, Selena Robinson, the other day. You know what
Okay,
she
so I'm
did?
going to ask you.
She said, I'm not done talking.
I'm going to talk over you if you talk. No,
The
actually, if you are done
NDP
talking, if you want to have a
in
question,
BC,
if you want to
her
ask
name
a
is
question,
Selena Robinson.
okay,
She
you're not
said
even
about
talking to our
Gaza.
guest.
She
You're
said
not even
Gaza
addressing your
is a
guest, and you've now
with
taken over
no
the
one
podium.
on it. I'm not done speaking.
No, but actually, you are
I
done
have the
speaking.
right to be here.
No, you have a right to, you have a right to ask a question,
That
not
is-
to give a speech.
I'm getting to
That's
my
what,
question.
no,
I am
your
getting
time
to
is
my
up, so
question.
if you can ask your question, please do.
I am getting to my question.
Please ask it now.
So I'm giving you context.
Perfect.
The NDP leader.
Okay, your
Selena
context
Robinson-
is over, ask the question.
Do not condescend me, sir. I am not done
I'm
speaking.
asking. Okay,
The
actually,
NDP
you are,
leader,
you
and
are,
I'm talking to
okay.
him, I'm not talking
I
to
can
you.
ask your question.
You know what
Can
she
you
said?
question?
She said Gaza is a crappy piece of land with no one on it. You know who's on it? 29 family members of mine.
Please ask
You
the
know who's
question.
on it? So what are your thoughts on that? Can you tell
Sure.
me what you have to say about Selena Robinson's disgusting comments about my peoples and my land?
I absolutely.
Please tell me what you have to say about your leaders and your people.
So, yeah, on that question, what she said was wrong, was horribly wrong. She was factually wrong, it was harmful, and it was absolutely wrong of her to do that. There's no question about it. It was harmful, and like you said, factually incorrect. Purely factually incorrect, harmful, and wrong. So I reject what she said. I think it's absolutely wrong. In terms of the Palestinian racism, you're absolutely right. I've often said that, but today in my response I did not, and I apologize, you're right. It's not just Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, but there's very clearly, specifically, and it should be named as anti-Palestinian racism that exists as well. And I thank you for bringing that point up as well. And I think it's important for us all to be very careful in our language. I think what's very clear is leaders have a responsibility, like you're highlighting, that we can either inflame some of the pain that's out there, or we can do our part to see the pain, acknowledge it, and to give people voice. And I think it's very important that our words do that. So to acknowledge not just the Islamophobia that's on the rise, which is, not just the anti-Semitism, which is, and also acknowledge the anti-Palestinian racism, which is on the rise. And I thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Another thing I
Okay,
have to say
okay, just one
is that-
question.
is that
Okay,
your
I'm
words-
sorry. I'm
your
sorry.
words are just
One
words.
question.
So I want to
Does
ask,
anyone else
I
have a
want to ask
question?
the NDP
Yes, one over here. Go
leader,
ahead.
what are you
Go ahead.
actually
I'm sorry.
doing to
Actually,
address
just
anti-Palestinian
one.
racism
You already
on our
answered your
campuses?
question.
What are you doing
How many
to
questions do you
address
have? How many questions do you have?
anti-Palestinian
How many
racism in
questions?
Canada?
How many questions
What
do
is
you
the
have?
She has
NDP
two.
leader
Yeah.
doing to call for a ceasefire other than words when 30,000 Palestinians have been murdered in 4 months? What is the NDP doing other than spewing words? I want to know actionable steps that you have taken.
Do you have-
Because you
sure.
just say words, but you don't do anything for Palestinians.
Do you have any more questions?
I want him to answer.
Okay, will you sit down then?
Do not mansplain me. I will not sit down.
Will
I'm
you ask,
asking a
okay,
question.
if he answers your question, will that?
I don't want to sit down. I'm
You don't have to
saying-
sit down.
Sorry, I have a comment too. This conversation has not acknowledged anything
Okay.
that happened before
All right.
October
I'm-
7th.
I'm-
Nothing about the Israeli
okay,
occupation for
this is actually
75
not-
years.
it's actually not-
75
I'm
years,
actually-
Israeli
75 years
occupation.
of occupation.
There's no conversation about that. History did not start on October 7th. History did not stop on October 7th. You're telling me this is a democracy forum. I don't need a chance to talk.
Because I did.
You call for a
You asked the
ceasefire? You call for a ceasefire 4 months too late?
I understand
When
there's pain,
30,000
but
Palestinians
I
have
can
been
talk,
murdered?
if you do want me to respond, I'm happy to do so. I feel like you might want to express yourself more than you want me to respond, which is fine too. If you do want me to respond, I'm happy to do so. But-
Please do respond. I want
So-
to hear yours.
Will that be, will we then move on and share the microphones with other people? Thank you.
I
All right.
think nothing is as
I'll take
important as a
that. Well, you may
genocide
think that,
against the
but-
Palestinians.
And it is important,
Nothing
but
is
it's
as
actually
important
democracy
to talk
forum.
about
It's actually democracy
discarding
forum.
your
I feel like you're not gonna let
democracy.
other
And
people
shame on
ask
Days
questions.
who brought
What
Stephen
about
Leach
democracy in
to our
Palestine?
campus.
What about
to
democracy
actually
in
give a
Palestine?
shit about
All
Palestine.
universities in Palestine have been destroyed.
Not letting
All
other-
universities in Palestine have been
In the
destroyed.
name of democracy, you give a shit about democracy?
Maybe you don't.
Then be so
I do.
real.
I'm passionate about
Nothing is
democracy.
as important. Oh, you are not
Invited Mr.
passionate
Singh,
about
and
democracy.
Mr. Singh has
You are
invited.
not. You're passionate
Now
about your
now
own
you're still
agenda.
listening.
You
So,
are
Mr. Singh,
passionate about
do
your
you want
own
to answer, do you want to
agenda.
answer the question?
I will answer
Please
that
let
question.
me answer.
I do though think it is important to give people space as well, right? There's lots of people here, there are other people that should have space as well. I think that's an important thing. Often people who are quiet feel intimidated in space because they can't speak up as loudly, so I feel like we should offer people space as well. Just a couple of things that you mentioned, just to be really clear. We called for a ceasefire 4 days after. When we saw, I think it was by October 11th, so months and months ago, we actually called for it. We're the first ones to call for it. What did we do beyond calling for it? We wrote letters to the Prime Minister directly. We did multiple letters and multiple statements were made. I asked for an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister. I met with the Prime Minister. You'll recall that Canada did not support a ceasefire for a long time. Canada voted against the ceasefire, also in the United Nations. We continued the pressure. We had multiple steps along the way where we raised pressure on the government. Like I said, I met with the Prime Minister. I wrote to him, I met with them. And then most recently, you will also know, folks that have been following, that Canada voted in favor of a ceasefire. I would say that it's not us alone. I don't want to take all the credit for it, because I think many people were a part of this. Many activists raised their voice, many people applied pressure, but it is clear that we led the way at the federal level amongst federal political parties, and now Canada is taking the position. So our advocacy, that's what we do, we're advocates.
Your
and
advocacy
opposition.
does not stop
And then we were able
genocide.
to get Canada to take a
Advocacy words
position
do not
to
stop
support.
genocide.
The
I'm sorry.
Ontario
Okay,
NDP kicked out Sarah Jama
Okay.
when she called for a ceasefire.
Right.
And then you called 3 months later.
Can we let other people ask questions, or are you gonna be in my
Advocacy
call?
does not stop genocide. There is an illegal occupation of
Anybody else, does
Palestine.
anybody else want to
And
ask a
the
question?
Oh, you're
NDP,
talking about-
Do we have a microphone?
shame on all NDP.
You're talking.
All you
Talking
talk
bombs
are
are
dropping.
dropping.
Shame on
Talking
NDP.
bombs are dropping.
Shame on NDP.
Why are you
You are
talking bombs are
traitors.
dropping?
You are traitors and you skip words. Screw the illegal occupation of Palestine. You will not silence us. You will not silence the Palestinians. We are here to stay. You will not erase us. And the NDP needs to do more for my people. My people deserve to live on their land
You are
freely.
actually
My
trying
This
people
is
deserve
Harrison
to
Faulkner.
live. 30,000
We have some
of my
microphone.
people have been
That's the next
murdered
question.
in 4 months. And you're sitting here talking to this man about farming and grocery prices while there's a genocide happening. You're talking about babies' grocery prices. Babies are being murdered. My people are being murdered.
To care about something going on right now.
Shame!
The most
Shame!
urgent thing right now.
Shame on every single one of you who wants to talk about grocery prices. Shame on every single one of you. We should be standing up against that illegal state of Israel, the genocide of my people. Every single one of you. You're here to talk about grocery prices and farming and democracy. People are the genocide and they're Palestinians.
And Canada is contributing to it. What are you doing to make Palestinians feel safe?
I've asked you folks to just let other people speak and ask questions. And if you, well, no, actually, I've been calling
We're here to
two
speak
people.
for
There are 2
Palestinians.
people
We're here
ahead
to
of you.
speak for
I'm
the
sorry, I
30,000
forgot you.
Palestinians who've been
And you're
murdered by
doing that.
Israel.
You wanna go ahead? Go ahead. Okay. You okay? I'll come back. Yeah.
Hi there, Mr. Singh. Thanks for taking our questions. You've talked a lot about the cost of living crisis in this country and how Canadians are struggling. I'm sure many students in this room are struggling as well. Food banks, for example, are struggling to keep up with record demand. So with that in mind, you talk a lot about the crisis, the cost of living crisis, but your agreement keeps the government, who's largely responsible for it, in power until 2025. So I'm just curious, when you see long food bank lines in sprawling tent cities, do you feel any responsibility for the struggles that so many Canadians are facing right now?
By virtue of keeping the liberals in power.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So so the question is, people are struggling, people are hurting right now. What do I do with my power? I got power, I think it's acknowledged, I have power right now in the situation in the sense there's a minority government. I look at the choices that I can do with that power. I think what is most effective if people are struggling with food is to find a way to make food more affordable. And what I've identified, what Canadians are agreeing, the major reason why food prices are high is because of corporate greed. Corporations are making record profits, Loblaws, Sobeys, Metro, making more money than they've ever made before, while people are as hungry as they've ever been before, are struggling to buy food. And so what I'm trying to do is to take on that corporate greed. And so what are my options? Cause an election, and then cost about $1 billion, maybe 30, 40 days of an election. How is that helping someone who's struggling to buy the groceries? Versus right now, what we're putting in place are legislation that's going to take on the corporate greed of Gale and Weston, directly take away their power and give power back to people. I have that law in Parliament right now, and I'm fighting to make that a law. And then I look at the alternatives. Right now, the alternatives, okay, there's me, there's Justin Trudeau, who's clearly ignored the problem, and there's Pierre Poilievre, whose campaign manager is a registered lobbyist for Loblaws, for the company that is literally ripping off Canadians, which is so greedy. Keep in mind how greedy they are. They've just canceled the 50% off food they were gonna throw away in the garbage. Loblaws is gonna throw this food away in the garbage. But they're so greedy, they wanna squeeze so much money out of people that they literally cancel that 50% off of food they're gonna throw in the garbage because they wanna make more money off of you. And Pierre Poilievre's campaign manager is a registered lobbyist for this company. So will he ever take on that corporate greed? No, he works for them. His campaign manager is a registered lobbyist for them. So my choices are, how do I help people who tell me that they're literally hungry? I'm gonna use my power to give people a break. I'm gonna use my power to take away power from rich corporations. And that's what we're doing right now. We've got a bill in Parliament that's gonna do exactly that.
I mean, I guess politics is about choosing, right? So the alternative is to not supporting the Liberals is.
What about the 2 million
When we
Palestinians?
bring down the liberal government, how many more children need to die for you to bring down the liberal government?
How many more children have to die while you have
Would you please let her speak? Would you please? I'm asking you to please
People
let
in
her
Gaza, do
speak.
not touch me. Do
I'm
not touch
asking
me.
you to
Don't
please
touch
let
me.
her speak.
Do not touch me.
Go ahead.
You mentioned Alberta was an example of all the things that are being
I can
destroyed.
stop that if I want to. I have the
But
right
we
to.
actually can't hear her
I'm not gonna
speak.
leave
Would you
now.
let her speak?
I'm Palestinian Canadian. What are you doing to help him?
What are you doing for this?
He's a Palestinian Canadian. What are you
Folks,
doing
the
to
answer
help
is,
him?
what
Yeah,
devil,
already
which
asked.
devil part of the devil do you want to play with?
In Gaza.
Really?
Canadian.
Folks,
He's a Canadian
All right.
person in Gaza.
are you
Do have anything to say
really
about
not
it?
gonna let her speak? Or our guest speak, Mr. Singh? Are you really not gonna let them speak? Thank you.
What are you doing to
That's not
help
what I
him?
asked.
A
Are you going to
Palestinian
let other, are you
Canadian.
going to let other people speak? Will you let her
Answer the
speak?
question.
Are you gonna shut her down?
Answer the question.
Yes, I am gonna shut her down. You know why?
This
No,
is
I-
the most murder happening right now.
People are being murdered.
He is going to leave. He just wanted on record that
Israel
there
is
is no
committing a
statement about
genocide.
what it's going to take to
Israel
bring
is
the federal
committing
government
a
down.
genocide.
While they're sending arms to
You know,
Israel.
what you're doing
Maybe
is
still
actually anti-democratic.
women in
It
Gaza.
is anti-democratic.
They are dead.
Have no more voices. Worry about the voices.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned like examples in Alberta of provincial policies that are like actively harming people.
You know what's
Ontario, we have the same exact example. Our healthcare system actively being destroyed and privatized. Our institutions are being sold. Ontario Place Science Center, they're being sold to build a spa. Like, when does the government, federal government step in to help? Because by the time pharma care comes, we're not gonna have a healthcare system left.
NDP, shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! NDP, shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! NDP, shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! Shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! NDP, shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! NDP, shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping! NDP, shame on you! While you're talking, bombs are dropping!
Obviously, it's a very painful thing for people that are experiencing it.
While you're talking, bombs are dropping!
I don't think it makes sense that the only party that took a ceasefire position, took it early, and allied to human rights would be the one who protest. I hope they bring that energy to Pierre Poilievre, who has never spoken about ceasefire ever, does not support finding a peaceful solution. I hope they bring that energy to the folks that aren't actually leading with compassion. So that would be my response to that. To your question, yeah, so on healthcare, what's going on?
And privatization.
And privacy, yeah. I think there's a lot of worry about that, and I see it across the country. People are really worried about healthcare becoming less and less affordable, it being privatized. And the reason why privatization is so bad, for many reasons, but one of the really obvious ones is it costs us more. To spend money, if we're going to have a universal healthcare system and you want to pay for the services at a for-profit clinic, let's say, that clinic is going to have to charge enough of a fee that also includes a profit. So it's always going to be more costly to go through a private system. So it's going to cost us more. And the second thing that happens is, when you go into a private clinic, they say it'll be covered, there's always these hidden fees that always cost you money out of pocket. And it is scary because once you lose something and it becomes private, to make it public again is a lot harder. So there's a lot of urgency around this. I think the federal government can do a lot more to keep our healthcare system public. Absolutely. When we negotiated, or when the federal government negotiated agreements with provinces, they could have required that not a single cent of federal money goes to any for-profit clinic. They could have required that. That's what I would do if I was negotiating those deals. So it is really frustrating to see this happen in live time in Ontario, in Alberta, and see a federal government that's unwilling to fight back. So I'm putting pressure on them, but I realized the only way we can really defend our public healthcare system, if that's what we want to do, is have more New Democrats elected. Because we're the only ones who truly care about it being universal and public and purely publicly funded, and to not allow privatization. And it's become really clear to me, we're the only ones that have that level of commitment. And you can see some evidence of it in Alberta, or in BC. Private clinics are now being brought back into the public system. So they're actually buying public clinic or private clinics and turning them into public clinics because they find that they can actually deliver better care more affordably and more efficiently if it's public. So that's some hope that things can be better. And if we make better choices, we can get better outcomes. Like, I really believe, as tough as things are, there's so many solutions out there, and we can make those things happen. And I hope that I can give you some hope that there's someone out there that believes in these things and wants to fight to make them happen.
Yeah, the second part was Ontario Place.
Oh, yeah.
Science Center, because the feds can step in with the environmental review of the species, and they're not doing that. So how do we get the pressure on them?
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually didn't look at that as a potential way for the federal government to step in. When there's bad decisions going on provincially, I'm always trying to find what is the angle where the federal government can step in and stop it. So thanks for bringing that up.
Maybe you should have left Ontario politics. Star, I think you had a question. Can we mention, are you Star?
Hi. This relates to actually what you were saying earlier about not working with the conservative leader. I know we're in a really polarized time right now, and I think that a lot of the undercurrents of like needing to negotiate and make compromises within the political system aren't really visible or available to people in general. And so I just kind of wanted to talk to you, or like have you talk about sort of your approach to cross-party collaboration and maybe some of the compromises that have to be made in order for things to move forward.
Right, okay. That's a really good question. So,
And we're seeing Olivia Chow, who was our last guest on the Democracy Forum, working with Doug Ford and getting a lot of money.
yeah, that's true.
And Doug Ford working with the Liberals. And
Yeah.
you've ridden a bicycle with Doug Ford at this point.
I never regret that event now. So yeah, it seemed like a friendly fellow, and he's not that. Boy, oh boy. Okay. So it's a little bit inconsistent. Okay. If there's some shared values that you can work on, or if there's agreement to move forward on things that would be good for people, I think you should try to find ways to work together. And I know that's what I'm getting a lot of heat for, because I disagree vehemently with the Liberals on lots of things. We don't share the same viewpoint on lots of things. But there was a way that I was able to get a bunch of things done, and I think it's important and powerful to do that. So that is inherently a compromise, where I want to be the one making decisions that are always benefiting working class people, but I'm not there. People didn't let me to do that, so I'm trying to get the outcomes that are good for people working together. Some of the compromise, for example, if we were in government, we wouldn't delay on some of the things that the Liberals are delaying. Like we would just bring in legislation on pharmacare. Like there would be no reason to wait. We could have brought that in last year. So having to work with someone that doesn't agree with the principles is really concerned about pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies is tough, because I don't agree with that concern. I don't think that that's a worthy concern. Every country in the world that has universal health care, besides Canada, included universal form of pharmacare. So it's very obvious to me that we should be going this way. So working with someone that just doesn't agree on principle is tough. The compromise is that things take longer. I could have got these things done much quicker. We could have passed legislation literally months ago. So that's frustrating. But the question is, for me, like my guiding principle is, how can I use my power to benefit people's lives? And that's my question. And if my net is that I work with someone that I don't like to work with, or is difficult to work with, but I'm able to net benefit people's lives, that's worth it to me. And so that's what guides me. And the reason why I preemptively would state something like that I would never go to work with conservatives on anything that matters to me or to people, I don't see how there's shared ground. Like I don't see on any point on groceries, like I mentioned, they're beholden to corporations. On housing, their plans to sell public land to rich developers. On anything that matters, they want to cut dental care, they want to cut healthcare, they want to cut pensions, they want to cut EI. He said all these things already. Harper did all these things when they were in power. So I don't see anywhere where we can work together. I don't see, even on something as obvious as the Indian government's involvement in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil. Pretty obvious thing that all Canadians should be on the same side of that. I don't really see why he's taking the side of India. Like, why would he be supporting the extremist Modi government in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil? That to me is just it's treasonous or something. He didn't get a street. He didn't get his security clearance. Well, therefore, he's got a security clearance. So I don't know. I mean, all of this seems very mind-boggling to me. Like on something that we could probably, I could say, okay, maybe on foreign interference we can work together. Even on that point, he wants to echo and parrot the talking points of the Modi government. Like I just don't get where he's coming from. So I can't see any place where we could work together because there's nothing that we share in terms of workers, in terms of families, in terms of people that are struggling with cost of groceries. I don't see any area where we can work together. I'm loath to normally write off like that, but I want to write off, be clear, I write off Mr. Paulia, that's someone I can't work with, but I don't write off the people who support him. Because many people who support him see that maybe he can make things better for them. And I want to speak to those people and say, hey, I don't think he's going to make your life better, but I get why you're angry and frustrated. I've got some solutions. So I feel like we can unify people and sometimes be critical and attack the leaders of political parties, but still find a way to unify the people and never give up on the people.
That's all the time we have for questions. We lost a little bit of time. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Kareem Bardisi, for a formal thank you. I'm going to cheat though and say personally, thank you for coming. Thank you all.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Jagmeet Singh, bringing your family, working with your team on this event. We want to thank all the members of the dais, with our events lead, Catherine and Herbie, leading the crew that is wearing the badges. I want to thank the AV team, the security team, the President's office, and others. We know that Mr. Singh has to leave right away. I'm just going to offer this space just for a minute, if people would like to keep this space here, because and we'll give you the time to go off stage. I just want to, I don't want to, you know, I teach a class here, Making the Future, and we'd ordinarily debrief the guest speaker and speak about the issues that were involved. But I think I also want to just hold a little bit of space here to acknowledge that, you know, what Martin is doing, what we're doing with the Democracy Forum, what Mr. Singh was doing, it really is a pro-democracy effort, and it's really tough to calibrate the kind of expression that we know needs to happen with the responsibility we have to the entire audience to give you the space to ask questions. And I know that it was a difficult, what's your name?
Jax.
Jax. Jax was put in a difficult situation, and where others of you were put in difficult situations where you wanted to hear what was happening, and you may have had your own emotional responses to what was happening by some of the folks who were here, or perhaps are still here. So I just want to acknowledge that, and I want to say, you know, we do a lot of work to prepare for events like this. The event preparation itself, everything you see, the audio-visual, some of the things I mentioned earlier. We also prepare for a variety of kinds of situations, like what happened here. We really do our best to try to give you a positive experience, but we know emotions are high, And we know that on a campus, post-secondary campus in particular, there is people who expect more space to be given to them than they would in other situations. And in fact, TMU security and the president's office and all of those in TMU leadership try to do that. But we also really try really hard to give you a very positive experience. And so there's coffee at the back. I have already told you about the DAIS events. And we create space for, frankly, we're on the pro-democracy team.
And you kick people
So,
out for that? What kind of democracy is that?
we're on the pro-democracy team and we give
For
space.
40 minutes, you acknowledge that she went over time and you kick her out after 5 minutes? That's disgusting. What kind of democracy is that?
I think that's in the eye of the beholder. I'm explaining to you what we're trying to
What do you
do.
mean I'm the beholder? Democracy, protest is democracy.
And I just said I agree with that.
In the 60s,
So,
where was Vietnam protested? On college campuses. And guess what? They were right then, and they're right now. And yet you spoke for like 20 minutes about pharmacare and groceries, and you knew damn well that wasn't what people
well,
came
actually, a lot of
here.
people do care about those issues,
No, they
sir.
don't.
Actually,
Most
a lot of
people here
do care
came
about
for
those
for that specific issue, and you threw them out. You threw them out.
So as you say, as you can see right now, this is an ongoing process. I really appreciate your continued participation in the Democracy Forum in whatever manner that you choose to do. I'm going to continue to try to create a space for you to participate in ways that not only in person but our online audience. I want to say thank you again to Martin, to Mr. Singh, to the TMU community members, to DAIS, and all those who participated. Thank you.
Okay, so that part's over. You going for a photo shoot, are you? Little selfie for you? No, me either. All right, so he's still here doing like a little selfie thing. Just going to slide by you there. Thank you very much. Okay, so here we are. So he's finished his chit chat. That's okay. You look so good.
I think every couple months. Yeah, so they just are doing kind of okay, so
I wanted to get that young man that was talking about, I don't see him, the young man that spoke last really, and he was talking about how protests started on the, university level, in the 60s and 70s, and I thought that was a really good point because I've been talking about that for a while. It's like, what's going on with our university students? I was hoping to get that young man that was saying about what's happened to the post-secondary institutions that no longer protested. Like they were our rebellious, they were our rebellious people. And I thought that was a really good point.
right here, they're being promoted as
They were our rebels. That's what I wanted to say. They were our rebels. So yeah, he's having a little photo op here.
I think like some parents like they don't really. Is there something that can be the
People are lined up for a photo op. I would say I was hoping I'd be able to get a question in, but that didn't happen. But I would have questioned about petition E4701 and what his plan to vote for to have a vote of no confidence. But I think the way he answered or talked about what he was saying about, he would never work with Poilievre. And I would say that the NDPs are certainly not ready to have an election financially and otherwise. So I would say that he will be, and no big surprise there, but he will be voting for no vote for no confidence. But that say, you never know. Between now and then, who knows what might happen. But he did say Poilievre, he felt was treasonous, or certain actions were treasonous. Interesting. How long? This has been going an hour and 10 minutes. So I may just head downstairs because all this is just like a photo oppy thing. So yeah, I may just head downstairs and join my colleagues out on the street. Because this has not been really exciting here. The biggest exciting thing was Harrison Faulkner from True North being here. Yeah, and that he got his question in. That was awesome. You did very well. You asked it very respectfully. No, I was really pleased that you got yours in. But, yeah, I'd hoped I'd be able to ask what his plans were to vote for the vote of non-confidence. But I think he answered that.
You know the answer.
Yeah. Say if they were maybe ready to actually go into an election, he might be, but he's not even close.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the money or the people. He's just not even close. No. The slippery, what did they call he's working with the slippery eels of the Liberals, and that's okay. As long as he kind of gets something. I don't know.
He accused Pierre Poilievre of committing treason.
Yes, that's a big one. I hope you're going to be mentioning that one on your broadcast. Yeah. So there's a little team of people waiting outside to greet him.
Is that right? Just inside the front?
Yeah, they'll be outside there. Yeah. I think you better. The Tyrant Patrol is certainly all across Canada. But hi. But the Ontario, thank you. The Ontario group, which is, we've been around quite a bit. Where's that going? Hang on, I'm still filming. Certainly in Ottawa, Toronto, Hamilton. Where else have we been? Belleville. I was at the Belleville one. Okay. Yeah. Harrison's doing his work as he walks down the stairs. Yeah. He's a student here. Let's see if they're out here. Oh, there, look. Here they are. Hang on, I gotta turn the camera. There they are.
Interesting. I'm gonna head down.
I'm going down. I'll be right down. There they are. Look at that. Okay, I'm coming down. Well, Harrison Faulkner, True North. He's just down there in front of me. He may not want to meet the Tyrant Patrol. Might put him in a funny position. I'm not sure. Wow, what a warm day. It's beautiful. That's Adam.
Okay.
Tyrant Patrol.
If you're down for Dave.
This is Adam, Harrison Faulkner from True North. Adam's a Polish descent. Yeah, good. Awesome.
Weren't able to make it inside with the flag?
I wish.
Yeah.
There's the restroom. You want to meet the other crew? Go meet the other crew. Okay, so we're down here on the street, and they've set it all up. Did you enjoy it? Thanks for coming on.
There's Lynn.
Hi.
Our crack reporter. We'll do a little report after he leaves.
Okay. So
Yeah,
here's
well-
Harrison Faulkner. We were sitting. He was sitting next to me.
Oh, where's Harrison? Oh, there's
Right
Harrison.
there. So Harrison, here's the other Tyrant Patrol. Derek Noonan.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Joe.
Yep.
I'm just saying your name.
And I was just
Cheryl.
saying, like, where's that young guy from True North?
He's a hi. I'm on live. Good.
I got a robot this last couple months. I got to meet Menzies last month.
Oh well, I'm not on that level at all. But
Well, Harrison's got a new show started.
Quite the show here.
Yeah, they do. Harrison's doing a new show called The Faulkner Show. Should be good. Hi, Lily. Like, I guess they don't have a nanny or something. Okay. So I don't know who saw, but there was a little bit of a commotion
Yeah,
inside.
we're
Were you
watching
watching? Okay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't get my question in, but Harrison got his in, which was good. A good thing.
World Economic Forum.
What do you think? End racism? Freedom. Always choose freedom. There was a young guy there. Well, I say young guy, I don't know. You know, young guy to me.
Well, yeah, there was
And
a
he
young
was-
guy running in and out, letting us know what's going on.
Oh, he was asking really, like, what's happened to the post-secondary group of people that where this is where protesting started in universities and colleges.
Yeah.
And that has been my question for a long time. Where are these, university kids?
Right on, man.
Nice being famous, huh? Did you see you may have seen it before, but on the hood of the van, especially for Black History Month, you gotta have a look at this flag.
Oh, Trudeau blackface, yeah. That
Come on,
flag's
you
awesome.
gotta have a photo of it anyway. It's on the front of the white van here, Harrison. Yeah. I put a picture of this on Trudeau's Twitter page. There you go. So yeah, I'm here in Toronto, as anybody just jumped on. I was at Jagmeet Singh was doing a little chat, I guess. They were at what was the Ryerson University. I don't know what the heck it's called now, but it's here at Yonge, and it's kind of south of College, south of Gerard, kind of. What is it called? The Sheldon and Tracy Student Learning Center. I don't know. So yeah, here we are, Yonge Street, Toronto. Just looking down there, those big billboards are Dundas Square, which they're trying to change the name, or they have. I think it's all ridiculous. Trying to wipe out our history bit by bit by bit by chunks. The next thing you know, they'll be taking Terry Fox statue down. I thought of that when I was in Ottawa, and seeing Terry Fox statue there, and I thought, oh, they'll be tearing that thing, or moving it. They wouldn't tear it, but they'd move it. So theylied.ca, please go on to that site. Share that site around to your friends and families. I got Bass, member of the Tyrant Patrol, always on the job. On the job. Always. Why? What will happen? Oh, he's scared of being filmed.
He's like a horse.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping you'd have a Jagmeet sign, but no Jagmeet sign.
No.
Have you seen, is that his car there or no?
He just came in the one car.
Yeah.
You were inside it.
Yeah, they were still doing lots of photo opping when I left, so. But it was more exciting to be here.
That's evil. For me, it's evil.
And Lily, of course, she's always here, member of the Tyrant Patrol. Are you a member of the Tyrant Patrol? I think you are. Kinda.
I make it when I can.
You're trying. Yeah, yeah. You got to work at it, and eventually, I guess you're one of us.
Well, I mean, 3-4 hours. I do it when I can.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. These guys are on it all the time. And Cheryl, what's your hat say? Let's see. Oh, look at that.
Lied.
It says theylied.ca. They lied. Really, did they?
What did they lie about?
Just
Pretty much
everything. Yeah. What one shall I pick? Yeah, they lied. So go on to that site, because there's lots and lots and lots of information. So we're just waiting out here at the driveway. A little Tyrant Patrol to Jagmeet. Jagmeet, you're not going to get away from us. It doesn't work that way. Calling Polyev treasonous. That was big. Did you see the part where Jagmeet called Polyev treasonous?
Who?
Jagmeet called Polyev treasonous.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So what was his excuse for that?
An excuse for that. Yeah.
Or his reasoning?
Why the reason for that? I think Harrison's going to be doing a whole show on that. Not sure. But yeah, he doesn't like Polyev, that's for sure. But so he'd rather work what he called the slippery eels of the Liberal Party to get what he wants. Use his power. He said that several times. Use his power to get what he wants. He'll keep supporting the Liberal Party, even though he calls them slippery eels.
Yeah.
So what is it? The devil you want to dance with to the devil,
Yeah.
Another devil? Which? What are you talking about? I'll work with this devil because I can get what I want, but I'm not going to work with that devil because I probably won't get what I want.
Mind you, he didn't get any. He didn't get any more votes than the other two.
No. Oh, really? So that's what you tell your young little children there, your little girls? Oh yeah, just go with that guy. He's a little less, be a little less rapey than that guy. Oh, okay, Dad. Really? This is a good Tyrant Patrol. Jagmeet is so corrupt. Yeah, he certainly is. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to really look at the chat when I was in the room. Live chat. Yeah, Toronto Universe. What is? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just think of end racism. That was a good one. Good coverage. You're welcome. I hope he doesn't eat the baby. Shared. Good job. Thank you for saying so. The baby's real. I don't see moving. Yeah, the baby's real. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And you're welcome. What's with the baby? I know, like he doesn't have a nanny or a wife or whatever. Like really. But anyway, take your kids to work today. I don't know. Treasonous. Yeah. True North. And Harrison told me he's got a new show. He does the Ratioed. If anybody doesn't know, go on to True North and look for Harrison's show called Ratioed. I think it's a really good way of seeing how people are responding and reacting to certain things. But he just told me that he has a new show coming up called The Faulkner Show, and he's basically going to be doing interviews. So yeah, I think, you know, he told me about a few ideas, and I think that's really good. So check out True North and Harrison Faulkner. He's actually a student here at the Metropolitan whatever. That used to be Ryerson. But I did get in. I did get in with my cross pass. Look at that. Look at that. Black Flag Equity Media. The meatless wonder. I'm trying to rack my brain. What did he say? What did he call? He calls Pierre Poilievre his actions treasonous. Oh, was it about the India thing? Yeah, I think it was about India. I'm racking my brain about what he said was treasonous, and I think it was that whole India, the murdering of the Indian guy. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Keith Lane, nothing says it's private.
Well, they're not going to move on.
This isn't private.
Have a good one. Good to meet you.
Coming down the lane. See what's going on. Jagmeet was projecting again. I'd say this is his car, Suburban. So we've got the back lane here in Toronto. Oh, here's the back of the Zanzibar. If anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a strip joint, a strip club. Zanzibar, the dancers never stop. Non-stop action, morning and night. Girls never stop and girls never stop. So this is the back of the Zanzibar. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'd say this is a good time to share this live out because I think he's going to be coming out pretty darn soon. And the patrol will catch him. I imagine they'll bring him out here, he'll be out. I imagine they'll bring him out here and he'll be down that lane. Why would the car be sitting there? Got a door there. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. What's that? Well, unless there's a car there for him, he's not going to come out that door. This is his car. Look where our work gets us, back alleys.
Oh, there's our work student list. You're able to talk to, I guess you can talk to that Palestinian girl that was making all the noise.
Well, he did talk. Like he did try to
Were you
answer.
able to talk to her?
Oh no, they escorted them out.
Oh, they
Yeah.
escorted her out?
Yeah. I could have chased after, but I really wanted to be there for Harrison's
Oh, no,
question.
no, no, he was the main target.
Yeah, for me he was.
He brought his baby with him. His wife did not come.
This is a good picture of you, Joe.
He did not,
We
don't. At any given time,
Picture.
Jagmeet did not breastfeed his baby, right?
No,
No,
he
he-
did put the soother in the girl's mouth,
Oh,
in
that's
the
all
baby's
that he
mouth.
did.
He did.
Jagmeet did not breastfeed.
No. This is a good, I love the background.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. It's gonna be a good
Right.
photograph. Yeah. I should get one of myself. I had this hat on the other way with the Canadian flag, and I'm sitting beside Harrison, and I say, "What do you think? Should I turn my hat around?" And as soon as I did, Harrison starts laughing. Let's see, how can I do this? Sure, Joe, maybe you could.
Sure.
You just like it's
Just
live
hold it.
streaming. Yeah, and just go over there so you can get a picture of me. Oh, yeah. You can't see it, but I can.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's still live streaming. I can just do a screenshot of it. Thank you.
Hey, what? Is there?
Pardon me? You guys stay there, I'll go look. What were you saying? What were you saying?
He's gonna be coming out this glass door.
But there's no car here for him.
No. This is where they leave. I just saw like they're secure. They have a secret door on the side.
Yeah.
Secret tunnel.
They let him, that's where he went in, but there's no car unless they put that truck
he's
there.
Gonna walk out. He's
Yeah,
gonna walk out.
okay. But he has to get to the car.
Why are they so scared?
Huh?
Why are they so scared?
Why is he's scared?
Huh?
He's scared of, they're all scared of people, like we're gonna hurt them. Like we're Canadians, we don't do that.
We're the ones with the guns right now.
So do you go to this school?
Mhm.
Oh, do you?
I mean, I got him to actually answer some questions inside. Look.
Oh, did you?
I got it. Yeah, I have on my Snapchat story. Here, you can film
okay.
this. Film this
Okay.
right now.
Well, you
He
just-
said that he's not gonna commit to $1 billion for the military, and he says that he supports the Supreme Court's decision to eliminate consecutive life sentences. So that means if I go around and I murder 2 people, then I'm only gonna go to jail for
One
one
time.
life sentence at one time. They're both gonna be going on at the same time, not one after the other.
So you asked him those questions when you went out to that photo op?
No, like right as he was leaving, and he
Yeah.
answered, he actually answered those two.
Yeah,
He actually
okay,
answered
good
those
for
two.
you.
Yeah.
Did other
And he
people?
got interrupted by Palestinian protesters.
Yeah, I was in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
were in?
was
Oh,
in
yeah,
there.
you were in there.
So I was in there, but you got that question too.
I got those 2.
Okay,
Those 2,
awesome.
and hopefully
Good for
we can
you.
get some more.
Good for you. Oh, is there option here?
Just don't give them any excuse to.
Oh no,
overreact.
I'm peaceful.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I might yell at something, you know,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yell
No,
something out. I'm never
keep it on the
aggressive. Oh yeah, no.
Very good on you. Very good.
Yeah. Well, you know, I like the young guy's question at the end when he said, basically saying you threw the girl out. I mean, you know, whatever. She was being really disruptive. But, like, what happened to post-secondary institutions? You were the rebels. And now, no offense to you specifically, but weren't the...
They go more with the flow.
Now they're like...
I've seen Pierre Polyev in the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there.
No, I wasn't.
But the only place I was able to ever see Jagmeet Singh was either at a beach or right here.
Yeah,
I
I've
think I
seen
saw
him
at-
before here too.
I saw him at the beach one time
Did
on
you?
Lakeshore. He goes
Yeah.
there sometimes.
He seems to
Almost
like
ran him
this.
over.
Yeah.
I just know.
Well, you got to be part of the tyrant patrol then.
Excuse me?
You got to be part of the tyrant patrol. That's what these guys are.
Oh,
Yeah, come and talk to these guys.
These guys were in there.
Yeah.
How long is he gonna wait in there for?
Yeah.
Oh no, they're probably giving him coffee.
Yeah, they're, doing their thing. That's okay. We have patience. We're okay. We're not going anywhere.
I want to ask him about David Menzies.
Okay.
Nobody, none of the news asked him about what happened with David Menzies. They
Yeah.
only asked the Liberals. I've noticed that.
Right.
So it would be good to get a.
Yeah, very good.
It'd be good to get a question from him.
Yeah.
I've seen a dude peeking here twice. Out the elevator twice.
Okay. So is that the question on your lips at the moment about David Menzies?
David Menzies, and it's kind of hard to remember.
Yeah.
It's like slippery slope with my memory.
Yeah, no, I get that.
No, I want to ask him about David Menzies.
Yeah.
I want to ask him about. You see, that guy was with him. That guy was with him when he walked in. So I'll ask him about what happened with David Menzies. Is he part of the World Economic Forum?
Who?
Jagmeet Singh.
I don't know.
Is he official member?
I don't think so, but I can't be sure. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna talk to those guys to come back, so I can keep my eye on you in case, like, you can wave me over or something.
So just look here.
Yeah, I will.
He might try to come out one of the cars.
That's what I think he's gonna do. He wants to stay in his spot, that young guy. He's waiting. Or maybe he's going to come up, because I said, you should come up here, because he's a tyrant patroller. But he doesn't know us. Oh yeah, he got a couple of questions in. We got security. Oh, there you are. What's your name? Oliver? My name, I got my name.
Oh no.
My name's Lynn.
He said he openly opposes Bill 21. This Muslim guy kind of like confronted him. He was saying this is the biggest political jargon. I didn't really get it that way, but listen.
Oh, okay. Openly oppose Bill 21. We gotta go.
No, watch. Someone comes over.
Bill 21. Go up there and say that you don't. That was.
I'm telling you.
I put my sister fucking the way.
It's hard to hear, but I don't know if
That's okay.
I don't know if you people can hear it. Yeah, but that's what he said. Oh, no, I was always opposed. He said openly opposed. He said that's what he said. I said prepared for it.
The most political jargon I've heard in my life. I understand. You need to come back to it.
Yeah, you see that? You see how he came out of nowhere?
Yeah, what happened there?
I don't know, but
This is Oliver.
But look, apparently.
Derek, this is Oliver. You might want to get his info.
Hey, Oliver, how's it going, brother?
He got a couple of questions into Jagmeet. Yeah. He's got some good film. He's a good one.
Let's keep an eye for another time.
Yeah, he's gonna wait. He's keeping an eye out there. So Oliver, if you go, do you have a Twitter account, or do you use Twitter at all?
No, just give me your information.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say if you go #Tyrant Patrol, you'll find stuff.
What's your name?
I'm live streaming right now on YouTube. Lynn Brooks, Lynne.
Lynn Brooks, my mom watches.
Okay.
Ever since the
Lynne.
Trucker thing, yeah. I just want to say I'm not affiliated right or left officially when I'm asking questions.
Yeah.
I want to get all the questions.
I get it.
Because in the end, we're the ones paying for the
Yeah,
$40,000
absolutely. No, it's a good thing to say. Absolutely.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's all I'm saying.
So if you go on YouTube, Lynne.
I don't wear a tinfoil hat. I don't.
Okay,
I don't
wait.
do,
You
I don't
still
do none
no
of it.
tinfoil hat.
I don't wear a tinfoil hat. But the whole thing with the.
You have to know what's going on. You have to have all your
Did
information.
he left?
No.
Not yet. No, they
still
said
there?
They said he had to wait, but he's waiting in some coffee room. He's getting the taxpayer.
Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Oh, they got him out the back door.
Hurry, Oliver. get a question in?
Oh, I got quite a few.
Okay, good.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Have a nice time in Toronto. He
Good.
didn't ask. I asked if he was wearing Versace, but he didn't. He didn't say whether he was wearing Versace.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. So, because chances are he might be going to Versace. I forgot up on Bloor, right? Versace's up on Bloor.
he's probably going
So
there.
maybe he's going there. So if you're on Bloor Street,
Yeah.
there's Cartier and Versace. They're both side by side. What else is up? Louis Vuitton is up there too.
They're all
So
up there.
Chances are that's where he's going.
Yeah. See you, Jagmeet. See you later. Oh, there you go, everyone. Oh, he's got his lights on. Like, really? You need lights on? He's got I'm an important person lights on. I feel bad now because I was talking about Oliver Kid and then lost, got him distracted. So I feel bad, but sorry.
We were here, so we were kind of wrapping up. So we're basically up, but I'm not going to call it by its real name, but we're at the university. That's where it was before. Jagmeet Singh came in for basically an hour of speech. Please go to Lynn Brooks YouTube. She did it whole live. The interview was live. We were outside with the crew. We put some signs up. We had some hostility, but we also had a lot of young students come and talk to us.
Inaugural
Jagmeet wasn't interested in answering any of my questions. The funny thing was Jagmeet did bring his baby, and he held his baby during his speech. He had a young student who's obviously Palestinian. He just gave her this political speech, never answered any of his questions. But I'll let you, Lynn, something really big, and he called everybody eels, but I'll let Lynn explain.
Well, he called, I have to go back on my YouTube because I don't want to misquote anything, but he did call the Liberals slippery eels. So he'd rather work with the slippery eels than the treasonous conservatives.
Yeah. So he essentially admits that he has more power than any other politician in this country, but yet he finished third, like way behind Trudeau and.
That's true, but he does have a lot of power.
He has a lot of power.
Because he can just push that button and have a vote of no confidence, or just stop supporting him.
And everyone just remember too, Pierre Poilievre, in terms of the popular vote, had more than all three of them. So I was going to unveil this in another thing, but I just wanted to say, so me and Lynn went in, and we are an official media company. It's called Black Flag Equity Media. Lynn was in there. Just to let you know, that is registered. That's a registered media. I had it registered.
At the last minute, I decided to bring it. And I used it. It got me in.
And it got her in, right. So. To let everyone know, I did apply for a media grant. I haven't heard back. But I could potentially get as much as $100,000.
Cool.
Under that new
Okay,
media
so I can get
platform.
$5.
But I might not. If I get $10, it's a win. But here we are.
Look at this,
If you go back into the live, there's two lives, so I got it from and I have a second live. We had students starting on the signs.
Black History Month. Black History Month. How you doing? A young man who gave me a nod. Okay, so I'm going to end this live here because they're just going to start taking everything down. So, freedom everyone. Okay, done. Wow, that was a long holding that frickin' phone.
I had shared in my Facebook.
Okay.